Life often measures men by what can be seen, the titles they hold, the wealth they accumulate, the strength of their bodies, or the power of their influence. Yet, beneath the surface lies a deeper dimension, one that cannot be measured by society's standards. It is the quiet strength of spirit, the wisdom that comes not from books or status, but from an inner awakening. This dimension is what Carl Jung called the essence of true growth, becoming more conscious of the self and living from the soul rather than the mask. Spiritual intelligence is not about religion or rituals. It is about alignment, depth, and clarity of being. It is the capacity to navigate life's storms without losing balance, to find meaning where others see only chaos, and to live guided by inner truth instead of external noise. While material intelligence builds careers and social intelligence builds networks, spiritual intelligence builds character, and character is what endures when everything else falls away. The traits of spiritually intelligent men are often invisible. They do not announce themselves with grandeur or demand recognition. Instead, they are felt, like a calming presence in the room, like the stability of a tree that has weathered many storms. These traits are not developed in moments of comfort, but in the fire of trials. Failures, heartbreaks, betrayals, and losses are the raw materials from which spiritual intelligence is forged. Men who emerge from these tests carry something different within them, something unshakable. Imagine a man who does not break when criticized, who does not need constant validation, who listens more than he speaks, and who stands rooted even when life strips him bare. His strength does not come from dominance, but from self-mastery. His confidence does not come from applause, but from the quiet certainty that he knows who he is. He is not enslaved by ego or blinded by pride. Instead, he moves through the world with humility, compassion, and clarity. Such men are rare. But when you meet one, you never forget the steadiness of his presence. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious holds immense power, and that a man's growth depends on making that unconscious conscious. The traits you are about to discover reflect this truth. They are signs that a man has faced his shadows, embraced his humanity, and chosen a higher way of being. These traits cannot be faked. They reveal themselves only after a soul has endured, reflected, and transformed. In this guide, we will explore 6 invisible traits that mark men of high spiritual intelligence. Each one is a window into a deeper life, self-awareness that strips away illusion, emotional balance that steadies the heart, compassion that connects souls, detachment from ego that frees the spirit, intuition that guides decisions, and purpose that gives every step meaning. Together they form a blueprint for living not just successfully, but authentically. If you have ever wondered what separates men who merely exist from those who truly live, the answer lies here. These 6 traits are not about perfection. They are about alignment, and once you recognize them, you will see that true intelligence is not measured by how much a man knows, but by how deeply he understands himself and the life he was meant to live. Deep self-awareness. Deep. Self-awareness is the foundation of spiritual intelligence and one of the rarest qualities a person can embody. It is not simply about knowing your likes and dislikes, or being able to describe your personality traits. It is a much deeper, ongoing process of recognizing the patterns that drive your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. A man with true self-awareness does not run from his shadows. He acknowledges them, studies them, and learns to live with them without letting them control his destiny. This trait goes beyond surface-level reflection. It demands honesty, courage, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about oneself. A man who possesses deep self-awareness understands his strengths and weaknesses with equal clarity. He does not inflate his virtues to impress others, nor does he deny his flaws out of fear. Instead, he accepts both as part of his human nature. This acceptance frees him from the endless cycle of self-deception that traps so many people. For example, when anger arises, he does not deny it or justify it blindly. He notices it, explores where it comes from, and asks what lesson it carries. This ability to witness one's inner world without judgment creates balance and prevents destructive impulses from taking over. What makes this quality invisible to the outside world is that it works quietly, in silence. It is not displayed through dramatic gestures or loud declarations, but through calm responses and grounded actions. A man with deep self-awareness does not need to prove himself constantly because he already understands who he is. He sees the difference between his authentic self and the roles he plays in society. Whether he is a father, husband, leader, or friend. He knows these roles are temporary masks, not the entirety of his being. This realization allows him to act with integrity without losing himself in the expectations of others. Another sign of deep self-awareness is the ability to observe recurring patterns in life. Many people repeat mistakes because they refuse to examine their inner wounds. But a self-aware man recognizes the cycles, why he attracts certain conflicts, why he reacts strongly in specific situations, why particular fears linger in his mind. By shining a light on these hidden patterns, he prevents them from ruling his future. This is where wisdom begins, not in memorizing teachings, but in applying insight to one's own life. Deep self-awareness also brings humility. When you see yourself clearly, you stop pretending to be invincible. You acknowledge your vulnerabilities without shame. This humility makes you approachable and compassionate because you no longer judge others harshly for their flaws. You know you carry your own. And instead of competing for superiority, you focus on authenticity. Such humility is rare in a world driven by ego, but it is one of the strongest signs of inner intelligence. Ultimately, a man with deep self-awareness lives with a kind of inner freedom. He is not enslaved by unexamined emotions, nor manipulated by the opinions of others. He knows his core values, his true desires, and the deeper purpose guiding his journey. This knowledge does not make life easier, but it makes it more meaningful. By turning inward and facing himself with honesty, he becomes aligned with the truth of his own existence. And in that alignment, he finds peace, clarity, and strength that no external chaos can destroy. Emotional balance is one of the most essential and invisible traits of men with high spiritual intelligence. It is not about suppressing feelings or pretending to be unaffected by life's challenges. Instead, it is about cultivating an inner steadiness that allows emotions to flow without letting them dominate. A man with emotional balance feels anger, sadness, joy, and fear like anyone else, but he does not become a prisoner of these states. He allows emotions to arise, observes them without panic, and responds with clarity rather than blind reaction. This ability is not developed overnight. It is often the result of enduring storms that once threw him into chaos. Through painful experiences, he learns that emotional outbursts rarely solve problems, and repression only creates new wounds. Over time, he develops the discipline to sit with his feelings, acknowledge them, and understand their roots. This does not make him cold or detached. It makes him deeply human, but in control of his inner world. Others may notice how he remains calm during conflict, how he listens before speaking, and how his presence itself brings a sense of stability to the room. A man with emotional balance does not fear vulnerability. He can admit when he is hurt, but he does not drown in self-pity. He can express anger, but he does not let it turn into cruelty. He can feel joy, but he does not become reckless in pursuit of pleasure. His emotions exist in harmony rather than in extremes. This balance allows him to maintain healthy relationships because people trust his steadiness. He does not lash out unpredictably or withdraw completely. He engages with awareness and care. What makes this trait powerful is the clarity it provides. When emotions are balanced, decisions are not clouded by impulses or fears. He can weigh choices with both heart and mind, creating outcomes that are wise and compassionate. This stability also prevents manipulation. Because he is not easily swayed by flattery, guilt, or provocation, others cannot control him through emotional games. His balance becomes his shield, protecting his integrity and his peace. Ultimately, emotional balance is a sign of mastery over the self. It shows that a man has walked through inner storms and emerged stronger, not harder. His emotions are not enemies to be defeated, but allies to be understood. In this harmony, he lives with freedom, authenticity, and grace. Emotional balance, quietly practiced, reveals a depth of intelligence that few achieve, but many recognize when they experience it. Compassionate understanding. Compassionate understanding is one of the clearest signs of high spiritual intelligence, and it sets apart those who have truly matured through life's trials. It is more than simply feeling sympathy for others. Sympathy looks at someone's pain from the outside, while compassion steps inside and shares that pain without judgment. A man with compassionate understanding does not just hear words. He listens to the silences, the tone, the pauses that reveal unspoken struggles. He sees beneath appearances, recognizing that every person carries battles invisible to the eye. This trait often develops through personal suffering. When a man has endured heartbreak, betrayal, or loss, he gains a deeper lens through which he views humanity. He knows what it is like to cry behind closed doors, to wear a mask of strength while breaking inside, to long for someone who will truly understand. That memory of his own vulnerability softens him. Instead of dismissing others as weak or flawed, he meets them where they are. His compassion comes not from pity, but from equality. He knows he is no better or worse, only human like everyone else. Compassionate understanding transforms how he interacts with the world. In conflict, he does not rush to attack. He asks what pain might be fueling the other person's anger. In relationships, he is patient with flaws, because he recognizes his own. With strangers, he extends kindness freely, not because he expects anything in return, but because he remembers how even a small act of warmth can mean everything when someone is hurting. This invisible trait is felt more than seen. People feel safe opening up to him, often without knowing why. They sense that he will not mock or dismiss them, but hold their truth gently. Another layer of compassionate understanding is forgiveness. He does not carry grudges like heavy stones because he knows bitterness poisons the one who holds it. This does not mean he tolerates abuse or accepts injustice blindly. Instead, it means he sees beyond surface-level actions to the woundedness beneath them. Forgiveness, in his hands, is not weakness but wisdom. It frees him from being chained to resentment while allowing him to choose boundaries with strength. This kind of compassion also shapes leadership. A man with compassionate understanding does not lead by fear or dominance. He inspires loyalty by genuinely caring for those he guides. His ability to understand unspoken needs creates trust, and his fairness makes him respected. Whether in family, community, or work, his leadership reflects a balance of firmness and empathy. Ultimately, compassionate understanding reveals itself in the quiet way he carries others' burdens without seeking recognition. He can sit in silence with someone grieving and make them feel less alone. He can witness anger without adding fuel to the fire. He can celebrate someone's joy without jealousy because he knows life offers enough for everyone. This ability to connect heart to heart, to understand beyond words, is what makes him not just intelligent but truly wise. Detachment. Detachment from ego is one of the most profound and rare traits of men with high spiritual intelligence. The ego, in its simplest form, is the identity we build through external roles, possessions, achievements, and the approval of others. It craves recognition, validation, and superiority. Left unchecked, it becomes the loudest voice within, constantly whispering that worth depends on being above, being praised, or being seen. A man who has learned to detach from ego, however, has discovered a different truth. That real strength is not about how loudly the self can shout, but about how quietly it can stand in peace. This detachment does not mean a man erases his identity or abandons ambition. Rather, it means he no longer allows ego to dictate his choices. He does not need to win every argument to feel powerful. He does not need to be admired constantly to feel valuable. He does not measure himself against others in an endless race. Instead, he acts from authenticity, not from the hunger for recognition. He works hard because the work itself matters, not because he craves applause. He loves deeply without turning relationships into trophies. His sense of self comes from within, not from the shifting opinions of the world. Often, this detachment is forged through struggle. Life has a way of humbling those who once clung to ego. Failures strip away illusions of invincibility. Betrayals expose the emptiness of pride, and losses reveal how fragile external validation really is. A man who survives these trials learns that the ego is a shaky foundation. From this realization, he begins to ground himself in something deeper: his values, his integrity, his spiritual center. With ego no longer in control, he experiences freedom. He can admit mistakes without shame. He can learn from others without feeling threatened. He can celebrate someone else's success without envy, because he no longer views life as competition. Detachment from ego also changes the way he treats others. Instead of looking down on people to lift himself up, he meets them as equals. His humility makes him approachable, and his authenticity makes him trustworthy. People feel at ease around him because they sense he has nothing to prove. In conflict, he does not escalate out of pride, but seeks resolution with clarity. In leadership, he does not dominate to feed his image, but empowers others because he is secure within himself. Perhaps the most striking quality of a man detached from ego is his inner calm. Situations that would rattle most people, criticism, rejection, insults, lose their power over him. He may feel the sting, but it does not define him. His worth is not fragile, because it is not dependent on outside approval. This calmness is what gives him strength during storms. While others crumble under the weight of pride and fear, he stands steady, anchored in his deeper self. Detachment from ego is not about denying the self, but about recognizing its limits. It is about shifting from, "I must be seen as great," to, "I must live with truth." This shift is invisible to many, yet it radiates in every action of a spiritually intelligent man. In letting go of ego, he discovers not emptiness but fullness. Fullness of peace, clarity, and freedom to live authentically. Intuitive wisdom is one of the most mysterious yet defining traits of men with high spiritual intelligence. It is not the same as logical reasoning, nor is it simply relying on instinct in moments of panic. Intuition is the quiet knowing that arises from deep within, a guidance system that does not shout but whispers. It connects reason with experience and soul with truth. A man with intuitive wisdom trusts this inner compass, even when the world around him demands otherwise. He does not discard logic, but he recognizes that not every answer lies in calculation. Some answers must be felt. This trait often begins with listening. Many people ignore their intuition because it speaks softly, and in a world filled with noise, soft voices are drowned out. But a spiritually intelligent man learns to pause, to sit in silence, and to pay attention to the subtle signals within. He notices the unease in his chest when a choice does not align with his values. He honors the peace that comes when a decision, though risky, feels authentic. Over time, he realizes that intuition is not random. It is the soul's way of guiding him toward what is true. What makes intuitive wisdom so powerful is its ability to prevent regret. When a man lives only by logic or outside influence, he often finds himself second-guessing. But when he follows intuition, even difficult outcomes feel purposeful, because he knows he acted in alignment with his deeper self. This does not mean his life is free from challenges, but it means those challenges carry meaning. Intuition transforms mistakes into lessons and turns uncertainty into trust. Another quality of intuitive wisdom is discernment. A man who cultivates this trait can sense when words do not match intentions, when someone's energy betrays their mask, when a path that looks promising on the surface hides a trap. Others may call it luck, but it is more than chance. It is awareness. His intuition sees what logic alone cannot, reading the invisible layers of life that lie beneath appearances. This discernment protects him from manipulation and helps him choose relationships, opportunities, and environments that nourish rather than drain him. Intuitive wisdom also shapes creativity and problem-solving. Where others are stuck in rigid thinking, he allows imagination and inner guidance to explore new solutions. He trusts that answers can emerge in dreams, in silence, or in sudden insights that cannot be explained by step-by-step reasoning. This openness to intuition often leads him toward innovative ideas, deeper understanding, and choices that surprise others with their clarity. Perhaps the most profound effect of intuitive wisdom is the confidence it brings. A man who trusts his intuition no longer relies heavily on external approval. He does not beg the world to validate his choices, because he already carries certainty within. Even in moments of uncertainty, he walks with faith in his inner compass. This quiet confidence does not come from arrogance, but from alignment with the truth of his own being. In the end, intuitive wisdom is a partnership between the mind and the soul. Logic sets the structure, but intuition provides direction. Together, they allow a man to navigate life with clarity, depth, and authenticity. This invisible trait cannot be seen directly, but it is felt in the way he carries himself, makes decisions, and inspires others. To possess intuitive wisdom is to live guided not just by thought, but by truth that comes from within. 6. Purpose-driven living. Purpose-driven living is perhaps the most visible outcome of high spiritual intelligence, yet it begins invisibly, deep within the soul. Many men wander through life following routines, chasing success as defined by society, or trying to meet expectations set by family and culture. While this may bring temporary satisfaction, it often leaves an emptiness that no amount of money, status, or possessions can fill. A man with purpose-driven living has moved beyond this cycle. His choices, energy, and direction are aligned with a deeper meaning that transcends personal gain. He no longer lives just to exist. He lives to contribute, to grow, and to fulfill a calling that resonates with his spirit. This kind of purpose does not always arrive with clarity in youth. Often it is forged through hardship. Pain strips away illusions and forces a man to ask the most difficult questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What truly matters? These questions, though uncomfortable, carve out space for truth to emerge. In finding his answers, he realizes that purpose is not about perfection or recognition. It is about authenticity. He begins to shape his life around values rather than vanity, around meaning rather than approval. Purpose-driven living shows itself in consistency. A man aligned with his purpose does not waste time on pursuits that drain his spirit. He knows when to say no, even if the world pressures him to say yes. He invests his energy in work, relationships, and actions that reflect his values. This may not always make him rich or popular, but it makes him fulfilled. His days carry direction, his struggles feel worthwhile, and his achievements hold meaning beyond material success. He measures progress not by applause, but by alignment with his deeper truth. Another quality of purpose-driven living is resilience. When setbacks occur, he does not crumble, because he knows his life is rooted in something larger than temporary failures. Purpose becomes his anchor, keeping him steady in storms. Even when he feels tired, he does not lose hope, because he knows the why behind his actions. This clarity allows him to endure challenges that would overwhelm others. People around him notice his persistence and are inspired by it, even if they cannot fully explain why. Purpose also shapes the way he serves others. A man with high spiritual intelligence recognizes that his life is not only for himself. His purpose often includes uplifting, guiding, or contributing to the well-being of others. Whether through teaching, creating, leading, or simply offering kindness, he leaves behind ripples of meaning that outlast him. He does not chase legacy for ego, but he naturally creates one through the way he lives. Ultimately, purpose-driven living gives life a richness that nothing else can. It transforms ordinary days into meaningful steps and turns even pain into part of a greater journey. It frees a man from the emptiness of aimless living and fills him with clarity, direction, and peace. He wakes each morning not wondering what life owes him, but knowing what he has to give. And in that giving, he finds fulfillment that no external prize can match.